Hello and welcome back to Plants vs. Zombies, and the sun's gone again. What the hell?
Yay!
Yay! And what Crazy Dave said, what Crazy Dave said just before right there, they call it the Fog Man because there's fog all over the place.
Oh, I thought he was called the Fogman because it makes you say, what the fuck, man?
But also because there's people, like, there's like I say people, they're not people, but he would explain that zombies would be coming out of the fog and jump at you. And yeah, this is where I got, like, another rake and also another item slot. So
wait, did the price jump up from 5,000 to 20,000?
Yes, it did.
It went from 5,000 to 20,000 because 5,000 is for the 8th slot and 25,000 is for the 9th slot.
Right. So is that inflation or just economics?
Economics. It's Crazy Dave economics.
Right.
Look at the guy who's running the damn, like, shop, dude. He runs a shop in his frickin' car.
So is it like some sort of like plot twist where it turns out that Crazy Dave actually has, like, no brain?
I don't know.
Surprise me. It would
Maybe
not surprise me.
it would. That twist would go super hard right now. Right there. And yeah, when they said fog, we weren't kidding. But not only is this like another nighttime stage, but it's also the worst nighttime stage in all of Adventure Mode.
You don't know what you're kidding.
You don't. Well, it's not only that. You don't even know. You can't even see shit aside from the top. Aside from the top row there, where a zombie's head peeks out.
Right.
Occasionally.
Can you still place units in the fogged up section?
Yes. Yes, you can.
Right.
Because,
but you can.
yeah,
you cannot see. You can only see them. Or you cannot see them, so you don't know if they're still, like, alive.
Exactly. Well, you can place them in the fog, but, like, you don't know where the zombie is coming from until it comes out of the fog.
Right.
Luck, but yeah. I hate these levels I hate these levels. They're like the most stressful levels for me, in all the obvious ways, aside from the fact that there's fog and you can't see shit, which I'm not a big fan of in game mechanics, especially when I'm really good at, especially when I'm really good at what the fuck am I saying? I'm having a massive fucking brain fart. What you just heard right there was a Jack-in-the-Box zombie. Over time, when it moves forward, the Jack-in-the-Box would just pop up and it would explode on impact, causing all the plants around it to go bye-bye.
Right.
Actually.
So, a suicide bomber, in other words.
Yeah, and yeah, actually, yeah.
Go.
Except it's more like a suicide bomber that just came out of a mental hospital. Like, I'm not kidding. Yeah. That's literally what the design is. He's in a straitjacket.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just glad that I didn't consume enough media to know what it actually looks like, or make that association.
Yeah.
It's actually not that. It's actually not that, egregious, in a way. At least not in my eyes. So. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm assuming that because it's nighttime, the flowers we've been seeing in the previous part, well, the ones that I've been seeing on the previous parts, are no longer available because they run on solar power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were also basically to explain nights to you, Victor, the only way you can get sun is from the sun shrooms.
Or or you could still get it from sunflowers if you still want to plant sunflowers during nighttime.
Yeah, but it's kind of, it's not
it's
really
very slow.
Yeah, the sun shrooms are much better. And now we have the lantern, which negates fog.
Oh, it's not necessarily.
Oh, not
it doesn't
negate fog.
It doesn't negate fog. It illuminates through the fog.
Yeah.
And speaking of plants, we have a water version of the mushroom, or puff shroom, whatever the heck. It literally works the same way as a regular puff shroom, but it works in the water, and you don't even need a lily pad and a mushroom to do it. However, the recharge on it is a lot slower than the regular mushrooms, because apparently it's a much more of a rarer item to use. Not rare, I would say more like it's one that doesn't really get used all that much because of the slow recharge. I don't really like how the recharge on the aqua shrooms are just really fucking slow, like almost cherry bomb slow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I kind of wish it was give us like at least a medium or low. I would actually be okay with like just a regular low recharge rate instead of it being like that fucking slow, like, you know what I mean? Yeah, I fucked up there. I fucked up because I don't know what the fuck I did, but I fucked up in some way on bringing. I didn't bring any like TSPPs, temporary solution to permanent problem. What NCS calls it. I didn't bring any of those, just for like anything that gets overwhelming. So I mitigated that by getting cherry bombs. The good old faithful cherry bombs.
Yep.
There is another plant in the game that is like a lot better than the planterns. That being said, I would rather use the planterns any day of the week. I won't get into why, like, right now, but you'll understand why I'm thinking that, you know?
Alright. So, have you ever played the mobile version of this game?
I have not. I've only played PC.
Right. Because I was considering picking up the game myself, and I was looking at the Android version, but there's kind of one major red flag on that. It's only available for free, and I don't like freemium stuff. I like to pay once, never again.
Well,
and I don't know if it's a kind of game where I can just pay once, but I have to do it in the app itself.
And it will most likely be part of a service that doesn't really exist anymore.
Yep.
Yeah. So
I don't mind.
Even though the Android version is most likely to be updated, you'd still recommend me to go for the version of the game that's on Steam, which I've also been looking at.
You know, it doesn't. Freemium games aren't that bad. It's just the stuff that you have to pay inside the freemium game that's the problem.
Yeah.
Frickin'. Like, I'm all for a game that costs you nothing, but if I have to, like, you know, pay for, like, its own, like, the game's own currency to use it, I'd rather go to a casino.
I mean, to be fair, I would love to go to a casino myself for all different kinds of reasons, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
But yeah. I'm glad that whole like microtransactions spiel is finally starting to be like regulated, at least in the EU. You know?
Well, as far as it is getting regulated. Yeah. I mean, I've still seen some companies that find a way around it, and it's. I don't know if I've ever talked about it, but did you guys know that? I think in Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg, Pokemon Masters was you couldn't download it. It wasn't available in the region.
It was probably because of the fact that you have to use its own currency to buy booster packs on the app itself.
I think it was that. To be fair, I'm not saying that I had any particular interest in the game, but I do recall it being a point that a lot of people brought up, to a point that it was actually one of the most downloaded APKs on Android in that particular region.
Yeah, that's not at all surprising, considering that this is the EU we're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, I just find it interesting how, like, a lot of the more problematic kind of games are not suffering from it as much as they should. Like, I think FIFA was a point that a lot of people would bring up, but for some reason that is still allowed to be on here. But oh no, as somebody who lives in my country, I guess I should be prevented from playing games like Phantasy Star Online 2.
I mean, the game does have like gambling, but it's not required in any way. It's just like a fun thing.
Do you know what it's like to be part of a server where pretty much everybody's playing Phantasy Star Online 2, but I cannot even join them because I made the mistake of living in the Netherlands?
I can
feel that,
but I can definitely imagine.
I can feel that annoyance because I'm the same way about Final Fantasy XIV.
At least you can play FF14 because you live in the States.
Yeah, subscription, which yeah.
Yeah. At least with you, it's only a money barrier. Yeah. I mean, it's a steep price. Don't get me wrong. Although, what is the cost for a 14 subscription?
I think it's like.
Hold on.
I think it's 20 a month.
I think it's 12. I'm checking.
Okay, well, I think it's 20. Ben thinks it's 12. I guess average it down to like 15 a month.
I mean, I would say that's a steep price, but then I realize that I have a double GTA Plus subscription.
And considering that games are now going to be like $80 instead of $70, $15 a month seems kind of normal, which is bad. Don't want that to be normal. Fuck's sake.
Okay, look, you can have expensive games. You can have games with expansion packs. You can have games with subscriptions.
Yeah.
Don't do them all at the same time.
Yeah,
either be expensive, be subscription based, or be on DLC.
Yeah.
Live support.
Yeah.
Like, I've been okay, I don't think I've officially made my statement on this, but a lot of people have been down on the Nintendo Switch 2 for its supposedly ridiculously expensive prices. I do feel like $80 is a lot of money for a game. So why did nobody make us think about it when Square did it for Spoken and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth?
Because Nintendo is a much more of a reputable company than Square Enix. And because brand recognition is is like very powerful on Nintendo's part.
For Final Fantasy 14, the monthly subscription depends on the length. If it's 30 days, it's $15. If it's 90 days, $14. If it's 180 days, $13.
All right, but yeah. So anyway,
welcome to the most useless plant in the entire game, the cactus. Sorry, Victor, I need to point out the game for a sec, because
that's fine. That's fine.
Because I'm not kidding you, the cactus is just a regular pea shooter, but you're spitting out needles, and it's weaker than the pea shooters.
And it also doesn't have the synergy with the stuff.
With torch flowers.
Yeah.
With torch woods, yeah.
Yeah.
And on that note, oh yeah, I forgot.
There was
like I forgot to get a freaking water plant. I forgot to get lily pads. Get the lily pads, you fucking idiot.
I mean, you could have just replaced the pea shooter with it.
I do like the game warning you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very well deserved. And because we have a new plant, we also have a new enemy. These are like the worst enemies in the game, in my personal opinion. The balloon zombies. They fly over the entire freaking lawn, and they go immediately to the end of the thing, the end of the row. They don't fly over. At least I don't think they fly over. No. They don't fly over lawnmowers or pool filters. Actually, which you'd think that they'd be the only zombies that would ever, like, bypass everything, including the lawnmowers. But no, I guess the game shows you some frickin' mercy when it's not needed.
Yeah, but all right. Can I swim back to my to the point I was about to make about the Nintendo Switch 2 prices?
Go ahead. Yeah, go for it.
People are down on the concept of paying $80-$90 for a AAA title, and that is the kind of thing that I understand. But the one thing that people need to realize is that the age of paying well over the industry standard $60 for a game. We're already living in that age, but people don't realize it. You take a look at a game by, well, let's take Ubisoft as an example. It's not a good example, but it's an example nonetheless. If you go to the Steam page for, let's say, Far Cry 6, you're going to find 4 versions of the game. That being the base version, the deluxe version, the gold version, and the ultimate version. What's the difference between these? I don't fucking know. All I know is that the ultimate edition, which I think costs double of the base game, has all the DLC included.
I mean, that's kind of standard with Ubisoft in a way.
It's not just Ubisoft. I think Take-Two also has something like it for the Borderlands games. My point is, technically speaking, $80-$90 games are already a thing. We just don't realize it. They are actively cutting off sections from the game to sell as DLC. And if a higher base price for video games means an end to that, I'm fine with paying a higher price.
I mean, this is also kind of just very bad timing in a way for reasons that are like unrelated. I'm very sure they aren't,
You're talking about something severely economic.
Yeah.
What's going on in the world right now?
Unfortunately. Yeah. But aside from that,
video games are one of the only things in the world that have not had their prices change due to inflation. And I'm gonna be honest, I think we've had this coming for a long time, And because we've been waiting for it so long, we just have to deal with it in a way too quick pace.
Well, everyone already realized. Sorry, go ahead.
But I'm fine with it. I'm fine paying $80 for a game. I'm fine paying $10 to upgrade a game to a remastered version. I get why people are not. And I do not want to take those people's opinion away.
Because they are valid opinions to have, all things considered.
But to me, to someone of my financial situation, someone of my someone with my views.
Zombie just...
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying in several ways that I'm fine with it. And if you don't like it, you don't have to buy it. That's also something important that people need to realize.
You can also wait for it to go on sale.
Well, Nintendo games generally don't really go on
never
sale.
Goes on. So actually, yeah, never mind. Nintendo games never go on sale.
I mean, honestly, I remember when I picked up Mario Kart 8 Deluxe because it was $40, and I was like, okay, look, this is the cheapest it's gonna get, so I might as well.
People were already pissed about the fact that people have to pay like $70 for a game. When that first got announced in like what, the late 2010s, early 2020s, I would assume, and I feel like the increase, the jump from 70 to 80 was way too soon. I feel like they should have waited like a couple more years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really should.
I'm also really not too fond about the micro SD express card. You know, this is probably going to, this, I kind of want to do this behind the scenes, but I might as well just ask it right now. Do we want to have like an extended conversation about the Switch 2 announcement now that the stream has been a while ago?
No, I honestly don't really think so. Mostly not to basically shut things up, but it's like it
would go on for too long.
Yeah, it would go on for too long. It would straight go on for too long.
It would also like be a huge setback for actually recording shit.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah. Okay, well, in that case, I'm just gonna say now, the one thing out of all that we've seen, the one thing that I really dislike the most is that we're not just still using SD cards, we're using a special kind of SD card that is not proprietary, but it's also not fucking cheap. I get that it would have been difficult to design something like that around the Switch 2, but would it really have been so difficult to just put a M.2 slot on there, like with the PS5?
In the Steam Deck.
Well, the PS5 is a bit easier to install one.
Yeah, but that doesn't change the fact that Steam Decks and also ROG Allies, for if you're also Windows users, have like M.2 drives in them. So I feel like it's just another instance of Nintendo just being like, I wouldn't say cheap, but I would say like using older technology. It's not even older technology.
It's not even older. Like I've looked for micro SD express cards, and I could only find SanDisk units.
Yeah. SanDisk has like a huge monopoly on SD cards because they're like the only manufacturers that make SD cards that fucking tiny, and also the fact that they make SD cards in the first place. Well, maybe not. Maybe that's not true, but no, that's completely not true. Companies still make SD cards. I almost said SSD cards like an idiot.
But I'm gonna be honest. When it comes to SD cards, I don't think I've ever had a SanDisk one. I was always brand biased towards using Samsung SD cards.
It's fair enough. You kind of get you just use what you got, you know.
Yeah, no, I've got a 512 gigabyte Samsung SD card in my original model Switch, which I will not be able to carry over to my Switch 2. So boo. But I've also got a 512 gigabyte Samsung SD card in my tablet.
At least the base like storage, at least the base storage unit for the Switch is like more than double of the original Switch. I feel like 8 times more like than the original Switch.
Yeah, but now that we're actually having a 4K capable console, we're also going to see game sizes that, let's be real, are also probably going to be at about 3-4 times as big. So the problem has been solved. Kind of.
Except it isn't, because
I mean, it just makes me wonder, how much is the upgraded version? Like, I'm not gonna assume that kind of stuff about stuff like Breath of the Wild. That is probably going to be somewhat similar in terms of file size, because Nintendo knows their hardware, Nintendo knows their software, and most importantly, they know how to compress it. On the contrary, Square Enix, how big is Final Fantasy VII Remake going to be on the Switch 2? How much is Hogwarts Legacy going to be on the Switch 2? How much is Borderlands 4 going to be? Those are the questions that I ask, and are unfortunately not going to be answered until the day gets there.
And that's really up to Nintendo to how they price those versions of the games on the Switch 2.
Yeah, and micro SD Express cards are not as common as M.2 SSDs. They are pricier than M.2 SSDs, and they don't hold as much of a capacity as M.2 SSDs. I really think it's a missed opportunity that Nintendo didn't just put an M.2 slot on the Switch 2.
I mean, Nintendo has made a lot of missed opportunities, like, around this whole month. Like, looking at you, Welcome Tour.
Don't even get me started. And you know, while we're at it...